ends up, you know, I think it probably won't, but it might.
Michelle?
Well, I'm a whole girl, brought up very working class, and we was brought up Labour through and through. I feel at the moment nobody represents me at the moment, and definitely not the Labour Party as it stands today.
Why not?
Well, because I'm very working class, I'm very compassionate to other people that are struggling, but I'm also very ambitious. I'm a big celebrator of success and entrepreneurialism, and I do not believe that the Labour Party would encourage somebody like me. I feel like they would try their hardest to suppress me, to try and somehow hold my ambition and personal success that I've worked very hard for as a negative thing, as opposed to encouraging other people to strive and work hard if that's what they aim to do.
Anything Tom Watson is saying appeal to you in any way by trying to create this social democratic forum?
Well, I respect what Tom Watson's doing in the way that I respect anyone that feels very strongly. And I ran in the 27 election, by the way, and it was a horrible place to be because of, and I will just say I blame it on momentum and their supporters and their narrative. It was bullying and it was deeply unpleasant, Paul.
You supply me with no evidence. Look, the thing is...
What do you mean?
Well,
I provided with no evidence that I was bullied?
Well, you're
I could provide you with absolutely
you're asserting it. Right to Momentum's head office. The thing is...
but she did say that was her personal experience
yes,
of it.
And my personal experience is completely different.
Why would you be so dismissive of my personal experience?
I'm not dismissing. I'm saying provide evidence and then let's discuss the evidence.
Well, if you were to, for example, to have followed my Twitter field,
I didn't, I'm sorry.
But if you did, you would have seen lots of evidence. We had the police involved multiple times.
Well, those police should need to investigate who did it then.
We had people turning up at my campaign office, and this is the thing. What I find frustrating about this, I'm not a liar. I'm not sitting here
you're a liar.
making
I'm just saying produce the evidence.
But listen, I'm not... But it's immediately...
You've made the allegation, produce the evidence.
Immediately, what you do is assume... You're very dismissive in your attitude.
I'm just saying produce the evidence.
I'm supplying you with a personal experience of something that I found deeply unenjoyable, which was standing as an independent... I wasn't a Tory. I was an independent candidate in a Labour seat. There was no reason to hate me. There was no reason to try and want to bully me. But yet I experienced that day in and day out, exclusively from people that identified themselves as Labour supporters, particularly who identified themselves as Momentum supporters.
What did you experience?
I've just already explained to you. I had false allegations made up that someone in my...
That's wrong.
Hang on, you just asked me what I experienced.
So it's wrong if someone makes that... It's very wrong that a false allegation...
One of the difficulties I think that the Labour Party has had in recent years is that they had this big influx of people, which was obviously welcomed, but you had a lot of people supporting the Labour Party or claiming to support the Labour Party on Twitter who aren't necessarily members, who don't necessarily kind of fall into the grouping of a political party naturally. And some of those who do identify, you know, very publicly on Twitter as JC full PM have been bullying and have been aggressive towards other people. And it's very difficult for the party to then act because they're not necessarily members over whom they have control. And there's a difficulty then because the party feels like they're being attacked unfairly, and when people are... Is
that the defensiveness you were talking about, Paul? Did that play into this idea of being overly defensive during that election and in the aftermath?
Well, it took us from 25% to 40% of the electorate, and Jeremy Corbyn was cheered walking into football grounds by people who were largely apolitical. And I think that whatever we did, we need to learn lessons from it. But, you know, I'm sorry...
It must worry you, Paul, though, because, you know, it's not Michelle's experience, so I don't know about, but it's not unique. And certainly, you know, in my community and the Jewish community, a lot of people have felt the same thing. Luciana Berger felt the same thing. And, you know, this is a bit tentative, but I think there is a relationship between the sort of theory that the whole of society is being kind of corrupted by a small elite upon which cutting out the other 99%, which is a sort of conspiracy theory. As I say, it's a bit of a speculative theory. I can understand why that leads to people engaging in kind of harassment and bullying of people they think are stopping them in some sort of conspiracy.
Politics is a battle. Politics for us is a battle for social justice against an elite, yes, that stands against that social justice, that is absolutely using a situation of inequality to make inequality worse. And if you stand against a Labour candidate in a general election, expect their supporters to campaign against you.
That sounds like a justification.
And campaign fairly.
She hasn't produced any evidence for any.
Yeah, but there have been other cases that have been presented. Is that a justification?
No, let's go through
I'm not
one by one.
I'm
We in the
not a
Labour
weakling,
Party
by the way,
fight for the social justice for working class people, and we fight for it tenaciously.
I'm not a weakling, by the way, that expected to go into an election unchallenged, by the way, but there is a way of challenging, and then there is a way of bullying.
And I'm a bit of a weakling, and I don't like politics conducted like that.
Well, on that note that Danny is a weakling, we're going to continue this conversation in a slightly different vein, though.